All right, all right, all right. Just let me check the audio here, guys. Sounds like it's coming into me. What is going on? I am gonna just get all my shit set up. Hope we get a few more people in here. It is just gonna be me today for the Mindset of Fitness. We're on these monthly episodes. We've kind of gone to a slightly different format in the last 2 months, I believe. We were doing weekly Mondays, and now we're on to once a month. Ryan is usually here by my side to help me out. He's not with me this week or this month. He'll be back again in the future. I've got a decent little program or schedule to go through with you guys here tonight. So yeah, buckle up. I'll share my stuff and get in here and chat and ask some questions and interact. All right. Our last show, so this monthly program, I don't know if I want to call it a program yet. It's not like we have a program, but this monthly format that we've gone to, I think we're trying to have some dedicated sections. So there's gonna be like a recap type of thing. We've got a macros and markets, or what we call macros and markets. We mix in a little bit of like actual crypto talk for the people. Then we kind of spend some time in health and fitness, topic of the month type of thing for health and fitness, and over to Q&A to finish it. Kind of checking in, starting your month off right, and yeah, checking in on you. Yeah, I see Bitfinesse is here. He's a common attendee. Wondering where you boys went. Welcome back. You're making an impact. No one else will say it. I'll say it. You're needed here, right here. Wow. Big ups from Bitfinesse. Yeah, that's really great to hear. One of the deciding factors in moving from a weekly stream to a monthly stream currently was the engagement that this content was getting. I think it's kind of the way it goes with the health and fitness type of topics, unless you're trying to be um, like one of the top 1% in that world. Not a lot of people tune in just to talk about the nuts and bolts of health and fitness. So we started mixing in some macro stuff, and it went really, really well. Or some of those episodes were more engaged with or more viewed than the health-focused ones. And then plus bear market has led to a downturn in viewership and engagement. So here we are with monthly kind of check-ins, kind of look back on the previous month. Mainly, yeah, referencing health and fitness and kind of like mindset, how to approach health and fitness ideas, provide the space for those answers. That's kind of what my expertise or specialty is. So I can answer a pretty broad range of questions there. And yeah, kind of talk about some of the crypto stuff as well that got us all here in the first place. Only eating 5% of my calories from fat and staying 5 to 600 under BMR has made a massive impact on my freaking body. Yeah, that is a pretty normal deficit to run is, yeah, 500. So 500, 600, pretty normal deficit, but 5% of calories from fat is almost at the is at a low enough level that it's a red flag for me, Bitfinesse. So as long as you're not like having any, I don't know, deleterious effects, like in particular, you need a minimal amount of fats to help with. You might already be aware of this with like some of the hormone production and function of really, really important processes. So fat is essential. Obviously, you're still getting 5%. Just hopefully it's enough. You don't want to be too low with fat. So let's get into my little program type of thing or the setup for this format. Just commenting back to or looking at some of the hex stuff. It was September 5th for our last stream. September 5th, we were sitting at 4.2 cents. Today we are at 3.3. Not great. I think that's pretty much been the trend or how the last month has gone for markets as a whole. What are some of the other numbers I like to look at though? So there's a few metrics I really like on this big board from Hex Daily Stats. I like the T-share rate. So this is the price of one T-share. One T-share pays out X amount of hex per day. So a single T-share on September 5th was 23,000 hex, 23.3 thousand hex. And today, 24.2 thousand hex. This will continue to rise no matter what. T-share rate or T-shares circulating. I think that's here. So the total number of T-shares in existence, this is a number I like to watch go down. It usually means just the system is working over time. So if we scroll back a month ago, it's about the same, 10.45 million, 10.48 million. But if we went back far enough, there would be more in existence, 10.6, 10.6. See if we can get higher than that, 10.8. So the general trend of the system, because of the mechanics, are to decrease total T-shares. And my last one, average stake length, 6.1 years. Oh no, I'm way back in the past. Page 1, yeah. Average stake length, 6.6 years. So cool, we just saw 6.1, however long that was. And a month ago, 6.56. So it's going up. There has been a noticeable uptrend in this number for a couple of months now, which again is one of my favorite numbers to watch here. So that's our little Hex Daily recap, or from the stats page that I like to check in on. Moving on to what we call macros and markets. Last time was September 5th. We were awaiting the October or the August data. We'll get the September data here in October, so we were awaiting the August data. Last time it has come out, right? This has been one of the biggest narratives, one of the biggest drivers of where the markets as a whole are going, or the big macro markets, and then crypto tends to follow those big indexes. We saw a small drawdown, but not what they were expecting, or I guess hoping for. So rates have continued to go up. And there was another rate actually in this last month. That's one thing I didn't have pulled up here, was there was a rate raise by 3/4 of a basis point, or 0.75%, 75 basis points. GDP has been another big talk over and over, especially last month. Everyone was making a big fuss and all ado about nothing over whether or not we were really in a recession. The all the stuff and all the definitions that we have written say if there's 2 quarters of negative growth, then we're in a recession. But for some reason, that was a point of contention all of a sudden. So it was in the news big time. Basically, they adjust these numbers after they come out and confirm them or call them finals. Earlier, this was 0.9 or negative 0.9, and now down to 0.6 by their final count. So negative GDP in Q2, 2 consecutive quarters. In my opinion, it's a recession just because that's how they've defined it. So I don't really get the big fuss. Place number 3 that we were talking about a lot was the USD versus Euro. A month ago, we were just about to reach parity, or no, we had reached parity a month ago. So we were already talking about US dollar strengthening against the euro. This is where it's really nice to have Ryan. Ryan is well, I don't know if he's an expert, but he knows that he's got a lot of TA training, and he spends a lot of time following the Forex and the big macro markets, a little more so than I do. So he's got a really, really great concept of how all these different indexes play together, specifically like the Dixie and like oil. with the big macro markets. So this is the euro. We passed the US dollar is worth more than a euro. We've just seen it to go to zero or head towards zero pretty much. This is kind of what all currencies look like in general, except for the US dollar tends to be the strongest of them all. It goes down against hard assets though as well. The other thing that's been tanking, that's kind of like the euro, is the pound. The pound got so close to parity in like a week ago, 1.04. So it's rallied pretty hard. But if we zoom out, this has been coming down from 1.37, 1.4, almost all the way down to parity. So like a 40% drawdown in British pound against the USD. And so here's the Dixie. This is the one that Ryan can talk a lot about in relation to other stuff, especially to oil and macro markets. And I know that we've been talking about just its strength and seeing the dollar strength against everything else, and it's still just going up. I think like in the middle of the summer, we were talking about how we were kind of seeing this parabola forming, and it's just turned into an extended one, which just usually means it's going to have a little bit more time to play out, or that's the probability, I guess. So we might still see kind of like a peak of the US dollar strength to all of the other currencies in the world, kind of as we reach what's I hope is going to be the bottom. Hopefully soon. I think it's close or soon or past or near. Tough to say, but uh, we'll be watching this very, very closely. So in the past month, markets, we kind of we saw the hex price there at the start. Hex price went from like 4.2 cents down to 3.3. So that's a pretty big move. That's like 25%. That's like a full quarter almost. Most of the bigger market stuff, most of the macros were down like 10% or so. Rally today. Today's been like the first. Actually, there was an update last week, but September was bad. Last week was one of the worst weeks. So we're up to start October. Great. But in the last month, it's been pretty much down. This is the Dow, down from 32K, 32.1K to 29.4K. So like, yeah, 10%-ish down. Really only going to look at the big ones here. NASDAQ in the last month, again, 12.1K down to 10.8, so a little bit under a 10% dip. Or from top to bottom, probably pretty darn close to a 10% dip. And S&P last month, about a 10% dip. So not a great month, macro-wise, market-wise, crypto-wise, price-wise. The inflation data didn't come in as they hoped, so rates stayed high. Like everyone's been kind of watching for the Fed to change their tune and stop with the rate hikes or lessen the rate hikes, and that will lead to some more liquidity and some more dry powder in the system for people to buy with, and markets up, or at least that's what the big macro people like to say will be our big turnaround. Also within the last month, we had the ETH merge. That's on my list of macros and markets. That's a huge event, or at least people said it was going to be a huge event. And I do agree, definitely technically it was a big event. Price-wise, nothing really happened. I don't know if I would call it a sell the news event. I would say it just kind of went with the downturn that everything else was in. Like it just kind of acted in line with the market. Like this, we will see the effects of. It's just tough to say exactly when. So ETH merged on, what's the actual date? Do they have the date here for me? September 15th at approximately 9 a.m. Put it down in the history books. Ethereum merged and is no longer proof of work. It is now proof of stake. Yay. What that means, or what the big bullish news or event or trade was that all the macro people are talking about, was the big dip in supply. So since the merge, there have been 10,000 uh, ETH issued, or maybe this is the net change, I think might be the number that they're running here. Anyways, when gas is high enough, the net ends up being negative, and we're actually and ETH as a system is actually burning more than it's minting. So people said that this was going to go deflationary. We've still added 10,000 Ethereum since the merge, but that's really quite negligent. There's a cool little button here to simulate what would have continued if proof of work and the merge had not occurred, and inflation would have been way up here. There would have been 233,000 ETH added to the system as opposed to 10,000 ETH. So that's pretty crazy to see. That's really satisfying to see in real time and just watch. Uh, that yeah makes me extremely bullish, like ETH system, and like I get the trade that everyone was espousing to put on. So really cool, yeah, cool event, but not much of a reaction. Kind of just went down with the broader markets. Do I get a price chart on this page? I don't. I don't have an ETH price chart for you, but let's go to CoinGecko, I guess. Hey, let's go to CoinGecko and look at ETH. 30 days ago, September 5th. Oh yeah, not great, not good stuff. We were around like 1700, 1600. And now we're sitting at what, 13? So definitely a larger dip than the general market. But the crypto market, maybe not. Can I look at this market cap chart? In 30 days, 1.1 trillion. Yeah, okay. So a bigger dip than the broader crypto market, and a bigger dip than like the macro markets. But kind of just in line. And last piece on my list of, oh no, this is my health stuff. My last piece for macros and markets is Credit Suisse. That kind of just emerged in the last, I don't know, 4 days, 3 days. People talking about Credit Suisse is on the verge of collapse, so it's kind of just uh, resonant of the GFC when, or no, was it GFC when no, the Lehman Brothers crisis was another time. GFC when like the banks fucked up the credit default swaps. It's very seems like a very similar situation. I don't think it's going to play out the exact same, or at least that's what the macro experts' general opinion seems to be. So I think it's bad, but not as bad as 2008 slash Lehman Brothers. Let's go check out this chat again. Bitfinesse, yep, not a red flag. Physical performance has been absolutely on fire. There you go. That is probably, yeah, one of the best metrics to use, just like physical performance. Good way to put it. Gotta love the sound of that. Yeah, it's a pretty cool website, Ultrasound Money. It's just, where the hell did it go? Oh, right, I went to the CoinGecko. It's an awesome site and really satisfying if you like ETH to just watch like ETH get burned. There'll be different times when you can actually watch it be deflationary, depending on the gas prices. All of my human friends love Hex. Same. And Torin. Thanks for being here. Nice to see streams on these subjects. Thanks. I will do some Q&A towards the end. So if you do have like health and fitness stuff, send her in there. Where did my... Yeah, Credit Suisse, I don't know a ton about. I just know it looks like one of the big, like monumental events to mark the bottom with, potentially. So let's move on. That's basically my macros and markets summary. Missing my better half to help me go through the Dixie and the WTI and how that's all related to inflation and shit going on. So I'll have to try to get his commentary on it next time. And into my health fitness topic, and it was a tweet that was basically at the start of the month. It was a month ago almost today, September 7th, and it was showing that China has passed the United States in terms of life expectancy. So this is the one topic that I have written down on my agenda to kind of talk about in terms of health and fitness news or area or information is life expectancy, just in reference or kind of as a talking point or starting point using this tweet. So life expectancy at birth, USA versus China. And in the last year, so I think this is 2020 data. I don't know if this graph is perfect, but USA down to 76.1, China up to 77.1. So they've continued pretty normally, and the United States has been kind of plateauing for a while. So I pulled up the actual article here, and I don't know that it's the best data to use like year over year or like on a more zoomed out view. Uh, right off the top, like inside the article, they say COVID is the main cause of the shortened life expectancy for the US figure. So USA was hit harder in terms of deaths due to COVID in this past data collection year. So I think it's more of just a news clickbaity headline to get some views, but the relationship is there. I think using like slightly better data, United States will still be above China, but not by a lot. So this is, I think this is a decent site. Life expectancy. So this is the aggregate for sexes, males and females. Males 76.6, females 81. And here their data shows that we actually improved from the 2015 to 2020 data. Females 81.3 to 81.7, males 76.3 to 76.6. So not having as steep of a drop off that was shown or demonstrated over here. So it's obviously slightly different data sets. I think this is what seems to be more places, is probably more accurate overall. But still, this is alarming because we do have kind of like a falling over or a turning over life expectancy in the USA versus some other countries. It's not great, or just in general, you don't want to see this starting to turn over. So let's go to this big chart. This is life expectancy ranked, or countries ranked by life expectancy. And where do you believe, or where do you think USA is going to land? So you can see 1 to 13 or 1 to 14, and there's no USA yet. How far down the list are we going to find it? The actuarial tables, we seem to be hiding. Yeah, this is actually a pretty common topic that Ryan and I talk about a lot, is that the data that is like actually made readily available or like fairly like easy to find sucks. And then even if you go and spend an hour or two looking for more specific data using more intense like research methods or search methods to find, uh, still there's a lot of areas that you just cannot find the data on. So you can see up to 14 actually. Maybe my screen's not super clear, but USA ranks all the way down at 47, 46, 46th in terms of life expectancy. Not great. Definitely could be better. Here's Canada. This is where I am currently. Australia's up here. So this, yeah, United States should be somewhere or could be very easily somewhere in the top 20. But at this point, it's going to be a really, really tough trend and kind of like conclusion, like almost conclusion that is going to be really hard to turn around at this point. A foregone conclusion. So top being so average 85.29 in Hong Kong versus what was it in US? 79. Males will have the biggest difference. 82 versus 76. That's pretty big. Yeah, 82 to 76 in average. That's large. So there is lots of room for growth again. Yeah, all of the inputs and like things that are coming to reckon have like already been done. So it's going to be very, very tough to turn around. Yeah, it's a pretty crazy number for like one of the best countries in the world. But it is kind of yeah a problem that all of the developed countries are running into, or I would say majority of them, not all. What else did I pull up over here? I pulled up just a wiki article looking at USA, China, Russia. So this one looks a little bit more like the data from that article. Can I zoom in here? USA like actually taking a sharp downward turn while China stays relatively in line with previous growth. Russia's always also went down here. Not sure. Oh, shoot. Here's a whole bunch of countries. So Spain or European countries. Again, these guys, this data set has some big downturns for everybody in the last year, most likely due to COVID. This is by region. By region is a pretty cool metric to look at as well. This is a really cool one. Stay big inflection point, like mid 1900s, where the slope goes like halfway to perpendicular, is insane. And then lastly, USA life expectancy. So here we had 78.94 to 78.81. So these guys' numbers, again, they've got same numbers listed as 2015, or same years listed as 2015, 2020, and these guys report a downturn, barely, right? Still, this general topping is not great. You'd like to see this slope stay quite linear for a little bit, at least until we approach some of those other countries' values, like 84, 85, 86. It shouldn't be turning over like this. Yeah, this is the result of a lot of kind of the modern workplace, uh, the modern marketplace when it comes to food, the modern diet, modern physical activity levels, uh, health literacy, like even so like training more specifically, I guess. There's yeah, a lot of factors that are coming to a head that are all basically leading to less energy output due to mainly due to decrease in physical activity, a modernized workplace, and then also increased energy intake, modern availability of food, and hyperpalatable foods. You can get more specific there, probably, but availability of food is definitely the biggest one, and access. So just something to really, I think this, if I was a goober in the goober mint, this is something I would be talking about, I think. Like for some reason it's just yeah, hidden and then not really talked about. This is something to I don't know if it's an alarm, but it's definitely alarming to me and it should be alarming to some. This is not the way you want this data to be moving or trending. And a whole bunch of people, there's a whole field of data and some objective metrics that we can use to point to specific areas that directly affect this. So I think there's many, yeah, many paths forward, many places to get started, and there's not much being done. It's not a flashy topic to talk about. It's not a, I'm not sure. I don't really get it. They're not optional. Is there a correlation between longevity and carbs from grains? I don't think so. The one chart or the one graph that I always bring up, so carbs from grains, there's no real problem unless you have an individual problem with them. It was carb intake versus obesity. I'm not sure if you're anti-carb or against carb, but there's basically a downturn in uh, carbohydrate intake or sugar. It might be the metric might be sugar that they use to kind of like that they use to stand in for carbs. Yeah, yeah. And look at obesity because carbs are usually pointed at and lots of times sugar is usually pointed at as like one of the causes of obesity. But there's been a major downturn in sugar consumption as obesity has continued to rise. There's nothing, yeah, inherently evil about them. Lots of times they can be more calorie dense. So, is there a so I don't know. I don't have a information on that. There could be a correlation. Uh, there might not be. It wouldn't. If there was a correlation, I could. Well, I don't know. Try to explain why it might be there, or why it might not be there. Are you worried carbs from grains are fattening? Not a lot of fat in there. Don't add oil, that stuff. Yeah, no. Grains are. I don't like all food or all food categories, all macros can be great in general, just typically in moderation. Grains, great source of carbs. You oftentimes decent source of fiber. Yeah, so you can pretty much use sugar as a proxy for carbohydrate intake. Grains would be a something I'd have to look into. And I think that is the end of my little program that I have set up. Just kind of staring at these life expectancy charts and kind of hoping that they will change is going to do nothing. Like we're already behind the curve, behind the ball. There are years and years of inputs and life lived and habits developed and uh, routines created that will come to fruition to continue this trend for years to come. So something needs to change because the rate at which like obesity and some other lifestyle disease are becoming more and more prevalent is currently definitely correlated and in my opinion definitely or will be proven causal if it hasn't already. I think there'd be some that would say it has been. So yeah, bad trend, uh, tough to fight, already behind the curve, behind the ball. Yeah, it's a little bit gloomy. It's a little bit dark looking, but we know the stuff to do. It needs it needs an initiative. It needs a narrative. Or not. It needs to be the narrative. So let's stop there, and I'll just do some Q&A for a couple minutes. See if you guys have any questions. Again, my area of expertise is like health, fitness, nutrition, physiology, that kind of stuff. I'm also very, very avid crypto and markets, so I'll do my best to answer questions there if you got them. But if you don't, cool. Thanks for tuning in and hanging with me for a little bit, talking about macros, markets, gloomy outlooks for life expectancies. Yeah, unfortunately, it's a little bit gloomy, in my opinion, at least for a bit, just because of the time it's going to take to see like the effects of good initiatives and good policy and like actually good habits and routines play out in order to help change that. It does seem like the fat gets stored immediately and it takes forever to remove. When I overeat on carbohydrates, so long as it's not more than 10% fat, I'm fine after they're burned. Burns clean. Um, hmm. Don't want to overanalyze it, but dietary fat is the easiest to store as fat, but in general, your body will burn whatever fuel it's given. So if it's needed, like let's say BMR plus activity is around 2000 calories, so you're burning 2000 calories a day. If you're getting 2000 calories from a variety of macronutrients, carbs, proteins, and fats, like 33, 33, 33, it will kind of proportionally burn from all of those. Carbs first because they're the easiest, but it will burn from all of those if the energy in, energy out is perfect, right? It's going to burn the most readily available fuel, not necessarily immediately store it. As soon as you're in an excess, right? So as soon as we have calories, like excess calories or excess macronutrients that end up getting stored, fat is the easiest to store as fat. But the other ones, if they are in excess, can and will be stored as fat potentially. Maybe can be stored as something else, but could be fat. These ones are you guys talking about burpees and stuff. Super cool. Everyone tells me I'm wrong, and I don't think I'm wrong. I'm not sure if you're talking to me here or not. Bit finesse. When I eat fat, I'm mushy for weeks. Really? When I eat pure sugar or something that's very low in fat, after it's burned, I'm lean again. It's so clear now. Why doesn't anyone want to say it? Interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. Carbs in general uh, will make you take on more water in general. Like, well, I guess maybe feeling mushy. Uh, yeah, really interesting and really, really tough to say. But the macronutrient that will take on the most, that will require or cause the body to take on the most water are carbs, which is usually associated with like the mushy feeling. But some people, you could be just a better carb burner. That's a possibility. Some people are literally better at burning carbs. What will we do with excess fat? Isn't this like keeping extra food in our pockets beyond a certain point? With the excess fat. I'm not sure what you're referring to by excess fat, or if you just mean by like when I'm saying stored fat. The body is a survival machine. So one of kind of like the fundamental assumptions is that it is storing energy when it can, or at least that's what it does. So then when we use calorimetry, that's kind of just our best method of determining energy in, energy out. Kcals, kilocalories, or calories, is our term when it comes to energy produced by food uh, incineration, right? That's like where those numbers come from. We literally just burn the product and see how much energy the underlying like actual elements produce. So it's not that we need the extra fat, but it's the mechanism. It's like it's the actual like survival mechanism of the body. So it's its default end result of metabolism, and that's what like technically has allowed it to thrive. Most people are very fat. We have so much of it. We don't need to be 20, 30, 40%. 10% is fine, and people don't know how to take it off. Eating 300 grams of fat daily won't get rid of fat. Yes, agreed, 100%. Um, Eating, yeah, 300 grams of fat daily is crazy, is a lot, and the people who advocate for high fat diets, I wouldn't say they're wrong. It's just usually not a sustainable fix for most. And if you have high blood lipids, there are some potential interactions that high fat diet could have with that, which is the case for a lot of older overweight people already, is that they have poor blood lipids. So staying on a really, really high fat diet can potentially have interaction with that. Um, Yeah, the problem is literally overconsumption, and it's not necessarily just of fat, but it tends to be of like fat and carb together is like where people overconsume. So yeah, so like for males, I think the recommended, and this is just the average, it doesn't mean quote unquote healthy, but the average body fat percentage recommended for a male is something like 12 to 18, and females are something like 16 to 25. So there's a lot of deviation and variation that can where you can place yourself within there, but that's the average number for the best outcomes. 10% is quite low, but it's pretty good. Like it's pretty close to 12 or that the lower end recommendation. I was eating 40% of my calories from fat. Yeah, that's a lot. Carbs, fat, protein. When I recommend people like when they're first starting to track macros, I usually suggest if they can manage it, just start 40-40-20. If you which is 40 carb, 40 protein, 20 fat. But if you can't, go 40-30-30. Then manipulate from there. A lot of people will find as soon as they start tracking that they are getting a way more fat than they think. And fat is the most dense macronutrient. So per unit gram that you eat, you get more calories. Yeah, average BMI. Let me look that up right now. Or average BMI and average body fat percent. That's a calculator. Average BMI USA. What? Where is it? Yeah, see, like this, there's no good website for this. This is brutal. Okay, I guess I'm just not gonna find it. Anyways, BMI and body fat percent very, very high right now. Yeah, this is kind of what I was being gloomy about with the life expectancy, but yeah, maybe not extinction, but there's definitely going to be problems if it continues to go the way it's going. Yes, car in general for normal metabolisms, carbs are the most efficient. So if you have something, especially like performance related to go do, this is where all the real like practical applications is when it comes to like performance elements. So typically really only like provide utility for professional athletes is like how to time um, certain meals and the macronutrient composition. So if you're going to have like big sprint, like really important sprint, carbs like 2 to 4 hours before will be beneficial as opposed to a bigger, heavier meal with protein and fat and carb. For the average individual, if you're just going to the gym and you want to have a better session, uh, making it a lighter meal with more carbs prior to a workout will usually make it go better. But it's okay to just eat the normal way you do. It's not a major difference. So if you find it to be, then by all means do it. But it doesn't have to be like a point of fixation. Yeah, this is the one. Chronometer is awesome. Great website, tracks a lot of stuff. Fat is crammed down our throats out here. The fat, yep. Lots of people point at carbs, but it's just everything. As soon as we're in excess, it becomes deleterious. Yeah, and there's definitely an availability and a some sort of psychological phenomenon going on with food that I don't know exactly what to call or how to categorize it yet, but it is currently leading to the majority of the population's detriment. Oof, didn't mean to be so gloomy today, you guys. Gloomy topic, I guess, but it was a pretty mind-blowing tweet. So I would still say, like, if we normalize some of this data, that the USA's life expectancy accounting for COVID would still be greater than China's. But yeah, pretty grabbing information. I'll wrap it up here in about 5 minutes. Because do you agree? What food would I recommend for static holds? Uh, Nothing in particular. Like if you whatever you like to eat, I suggest you eat it about 2 hours before you go train. The ones that have proven to provide like a measurable benefit, and when I say that, we're talking about like statistical significance that was found in a very, very precise research study that leads to like real-time differences of not sure how much, 1%, probably less, maybe sometimes more, but very, very minimal like real effects outside of like professional sports. I recommend carbs, something easy to digest, so fairly light, and mainly carbs. My favorite is like a banana, piece of fruit, and a coffee, like an hour before, hour and a half before. Some people like to train on empty stomachs. That's okay. Some people like to train fueled. I like to train fueled. I just feel a little bit better during training. Yeah, no in particular food. I would just say carbs pre-workout usually a good recipe for having a good time training. When I eat 3,000 more calories than I should have, and they're carbs and protein instead of fat, during the next day and a half of fasting to burn off that sugar, I feel absolutely amazing. Really? Yeah, maybe you have a bit of an aversion to fats. Because I think I would be the opposite. I usually feel like if I'm gonna overeat and I overeat on carbs, it's usually a ton more volume and a ton more fiber. I guess it depends on the carb, right? Like if it's a fairly simple carb and easy to digest, like uh like white pasta or rice or something, what I can eat a shit ton of, then maybe. But in general, I find like higher protein, higher fat, I think makes doesn't make I don't know. Maybe I just feel like sometimes I feel drowsy after a big meal, and usually those bigger meals are when I have a lot of carbs. So yeah, I don't know that I could pinpoint one or the other, but it is interesting that just like when you've noticed that just when it's high fat, it does that. Train this day. I don't really have a immediate theory to propose to you for a mechanism. Yeah, and you're a truck driver. Okay, so yeah, my guess would be to like focus protein and fat for more like mental clarity and acuity. Like when I'm driving, I don't want to eat chips. I like to have like jerky or uh jerky, mainly jerky, I guess. Sunflower seeds. Uh I guess the thing I prioritize there is protein, just because I'm always if I'm just snacking chips, I get next to no protein. The fat is what always makes you drowny. Interesting. Well, yeah. So this is yeah where this friggin' field becomes nuanced is that it's not applicable across the board. A lot of the stuff we talk about, like when I'm making statements, I'm usually talking to the average. There are some fundamentals that are black and white, but it's not yeah applicable across the board. Yeah, so I drove all the way from Brownsville, Texas to Canada. So it's about, oof, can't remember how many miles. It's about 30 hours of driving, and I did it in 2 days. Jerky, basically anything that was kind of like a protein snack, a protein bar, uh, some sort of like sausage thing, seeds, maybe some nuts. Probably mixed in some carbs, bag of chips or something like that, but mainly kind of like high protein, high fat type of snacks was what I was on because as soon as I had a decent sized, I think it's always has to do with the size of the bolus or like feed that I get when I'm talking about carbs. But as soon as I had like a bag of chips, that's when I felt drowsy. And I think in general, that's like the average is high boluses or like high inputs or feeds on carbs, but some people not, obviously. I'm the same. Generally, more higher calorie dense foods makes me sleepier. Say back. Yeah, but like yeah, again, it's if you know it for you, that's what matters. And then at that point, macros and calories matter, and activity matters. Yeah, this is some of my favorite stuff, and just like area of shit to talk about, and just get into the cracks and crevices because this is, I don't know, like the one of the only ways that I can directly point to as an improvement on what's going on. It's just not a very scalable improvement. This is something that Ryan and I also like to talk about. Is like like if I was the current administration of the USA, what might I do to try to change or try to make some sort of an impact on a whole bunch of these health parameters and metrics that are fucking going down the toilet. And I don't know that I have like a clear answer for myself for that. So I get that it's a hard problem. Um, one of the places, yeah, that Ryan and I agree upon is like literally just professionals and people with some of this information getting out there and like doing the work. But it's not really incentivized work or flashy work or high paying work. So I think a lot of people just don't end up in it. Like the people who are in the health and fitness world, a lot of them sell out. They end up shilling supplements that do nothing or like stupid programs that like you can find anywhere on the internet. There's like, all the good information is free. Um, and then you get a lot of hucksters and just like scam artists trying to make a buck, and they are flashy and they grab a lot of eyes and they grab a lot of clicks, and somehow they become the authority in the field, unfortunately. So the incentives for like people like Ryan and I to just like chat to people about health and fitness and mindset on like these ideas and how to set up any sort of framework or like lifestyle to achieve like these types of things is just like they're not in place, and they don't they don't really grab engagement. But I do really enjoy the content, and I love talking about it. So someone like, yeah, myself or Ryan just well found the Hex community and seemed like a community that was already kind of prone to picking out some of the problems in this area that were going on. Uh, and yeah, wanted to talk about it, which has been pretty cool to see. One meal a day, 10 years. Holy moly. Torrin's been doing one meal a day. That is crazy. Not necessarily that, uh, just that you've been doing it for that long. There's lots of days I only have one meal. Depends what I'm doing that day. Um, yeah, this is a massive problem here. But Finesse, I think people believe they're burning 5,000 calories a day, and I think they'll all be shocked to see they're likely only burning 1,800 to 2,400. Then they're eating 5,000. Yep, exactly. Yeah, most people literally believe exactly. Yeah, this is hitting the nail on the head of one of the massive problems. They just don't understand the net difference in energy that's going in, and that is the biggest driver of weight gain. And from there, it can lead to all of the deleterious effects or and other deleterious outcomes that lead to like the big bad problems. Yeah. Yeah, I'll bet you average is even less than that. I'll bet you average is like 1,600. All the information on like the food labels and stuff you see uh, is for a 2,000 calorie diet. So they're assuming the average diet should be 2,000 calories. And I don't know. I don't know that it should be anymore. If you're burning 2,000 or more, then sure. But if you're not, I don't know. Eat animal oil, tallow, ghee, not sure how to say it. Eating seed oils is trash. I think the seed oils being bad is mainly debunked, Van. I don't think they're uh, bad or I think like one for one, there might be like some like less they might be of less nutritional density or value, like in terms of certain vitamin and mineral like bioavailability stuff. But I think like a lot of the stuff that was going around recently was pretty poor research or just not looking at the totality of the research. Less dishes. I like eating in a way that I have no dishes. No dishes. Always weird to see Shaq drinking Coke. What's your take on Gatorade? Yeah, well, Coke, yeah, so if I was a professional athlete, I wouldn't be drinking Coke. I would be drinking some version of like watery carb, though, kind of like Gatorade. So there is a decent amount of evidence and data on this to say that once you get past a certain concentration of like carbohydrate per 100 mils, or I can't remember the denominator they used. It's something like 12% carbohydrate. So um, when it's more than 12%, which what most drinks are, like even Gatorade off the shelf or Coke, then your body can divert extra resources to go digest those carbs that you might need. So in particularly blood flow. Blood flow will go to intestines and stomach as opposed to muscles that you want, and you only have a limited supply of blood to help you with the oxygen. So that's kind of like the theory and the mechanism there. Um, so I would be drinking watered down Gatorade. And yeah, professional athletes seem like a lot of them seem to do like weird stuff. Um, I think it's probably because of I don't know some what's the word I'm looking for here? Superstition maybe. I don't know. Definitely like I don't think it would be deleterious. I don't know if it'd be deleterious or like bad for performance or not, but it wouldn't be my suggestion, but it's tough to argue with like one of the best centers of all time when they're performing as the best center of all time, you know? So it's like fast digesting sugar or carbs basically. Ideally, I would advocate for a less concentrated formula. Yeah, so Gatorade off the shelf, usually a little too sugary. I water it down. Yeah, a lot of the longevity, or I don't know if a lot is the correct term. At least some of the longevity people or community are advocates of less often eating, whether it be by fasting, intermittent fasting, one meal a day, whichever strategy you employ. I think in general, their thesis is that the more time, I think it's based around fasting. So the more time you're not eating, the more time your body has for autophagy, and that equals good for longevity. That's their thesis, um, I think. So autophagy is a natural process that occurs in the body um, in an attempt to basically clean and fix cellular damage and like cellular waste. I'll just look it up what the actual definition is here. Autophagy definition. Somebody won a Nobel Prize for it, and how it relates to intermittent fasting. And autophagy, there, like autophagy is related to, I think, longevity in some way, or it might be in some of the longevity research somewhere. So I think that's where it kind of got its, not got its name, but kind of became hot with the longevity crowd. Okay. Autophagy is the natural, conserved degradation of the cell that removes unnecessary or dysfunctional components through a lysosome-dependent regulated mechanism. It allows the orderly degradation and recycling of cellular components. Okay, so cleaning up waste and replacing cells and recycling cells. So as cells get old, they usually get damaged or dysfunctional, and they need to be replaced, repaired, or both. The autophagy process goes and does that. Now, autophagy has been shown to be good, but like just because it's been shown to be good in certain scenarios doesn't mean if you go to all ends to increase autophagy, that increased autophagy will release to the same or will lead to the same outcome. That's not necessarily what that means. There are cases where autophagy is not good and where autophagy is net negative. Now, I think the people arguing with me would just say, well, that would be a bad instance. Um, well, I would say that there's lots of objective data you can point to where autophagy is net negative, and a lot of the metrics that they use are completely unharmed and completely fine. So it's not necessarily autophagy that is the king when it comes to improving some of those metrics. It's definitely it's a good, important process, but fasting at all ends just to promote autophagy doesn't necessarily seem so far, like right now, I wouldn't bet on that being the way to improve longevity. It seems like the overall calorie intake is way more important than the fasting aspect for um, beneficial outcomes of autophagy. And you see similar autophagy in people with similar calorie deficits or calorie surpluses. So it's again the amount, like the net energy seems to be the big driver. But I do know that there are a few people advocating for fasting or just less eating times or more fasting times. All right, that's the end of my chat, guys. We are at 7:08 on the clock. We did it. That was a nice little hour chat with you. Again, I didn't mean to get too gloomy there. Unfortunately, our topic was life expectancy, so I guess inevitably we got a little bit gloomy. Um, Lots of work needs to be done. Advocate for just like health and fitness education. Try to um, just deter or misinformation. Just like when people are really, really not what's the word I'm looking for again? I'm looking for words today. When people are extremely like radical about an idea being the best or the answer for absolutely everybody, it's usually or it's almost always not the case. Like something more moderate is oftentimes a better approach for the majority of people. Um, so it does not have to be one way or the other for almost anything. We're looking for sustainability and adherence that can like actually increase onboarding uh, to these ideas, to these habits, and to these routines. That needs to be the start, I think. Or, yeah. So that's what I'm doing. All right, guys. Thanks again for tuning in and chatting with me, interacting with the chat. You guys have a great evening. We'll be back for sure. We've talked about setting up some more interviews with the doc in particular, maybe some other people. We'll be back the first Monday of the month, November 7th. Maybe you'll hear from us before that with the interview coming up. Maybe you won't. Not sure. Watch for that. All right. That's it. That's all. I'll send you guys on your way. Peace.